the night before my before my
So you forgot where now?
in Benin.
Oh, okay.
Because I was in Lagos now.
Oh, so you now went back to
No, so thankfully the envelope was with my senior pastor.
Oh,
thankfully.
So he sent
So
someone?
we just called him and he had to send it through to us through this Edegbe, this process, yeah.
Okay.
So he had to send it to us and we got it that morning, and yeah.
Nice.
I took my flight.
Wow. Now you have your visa, you're in the US.
Yeah.
Did you travel by yourself or
The night before my before.
So you forgot where now?
in Benin.
Oh, okay.
Because I was in Lagos now.
Oh, so you now went back to
No, so thankfully the envelope was with my senior pastor.
Oh,
Thankfully. So we just called him and he had to send it through to us through this Edegbe, this process. So he had to send it to us and we got it that morning.
nice. Wow. And you have a visa, you're in the US. Did you travel by yourself or what about it?
Right, so I actually came by myself, again, like I said, it's a journey of grace. God is an amazing God.
That's right.
So before I came, my elder brother has a friend. The friend is in New York. He's a friend today. He has a security company,
Okay.
where they do the security guard thing, and all of that. So at that particular time, I think the manager here had laid off the secretary. At the time, I was coming as well. So they called him. That's my brother's friend now. So they called him to say, "Oh, we just laid off the secretary. We want to hire a new secretary." So he told them and said, "No, don't hire a new secretary. Somebody's actually coming in from Nigeria. I want you all to train her, and I want her to take that position of the secretary."
Are you saying you had a job waiting for you?
Of course, I had a job.
Wow.
Job of grace. Oh my God.
This is getting interesting.
Right. So I came. So he gave me the address. I had nobody to pick me up at the airport. But again, I'm somebody who is kind of sociable, so I made friends. I know about you. Even in the airplane, the person who was sitting next to me, I made friends with him. I showed him the paper, whatever address that I had. So when we got down, he said, "Just go speak to the police." Said this, don't ask anybody. Just meet somebody on uniform if you have any questions to ask. So again, that was how we got, I got into the yellow cab. I think it was the yellow cab there. There was an Uber. Got in the yellow cab, we got home, and I just went straight, to the apartment that was kept for me. And yeah, I started. So I actually arrived home at about 12 midnight, probably like 12:10 or 12:15 midnight on a Wednesday. Yeah, Eastern time on a Wednesday. And I just got a little bit of sleep. 8 a.m. that morning.
The next day you started work?
The same day that I arrived. Yeah, the same day that I arrived. 8 a.m. that morning, I was on my desk getting trained.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah. Amazing, right? Yeah. I was on my desk. I was getting trained. And after a couple of training, then I was able to, do, again, carry out my job duties and all of that. So I remember after working for some time, probably like a period of 6 months or whatever. So, I just realized that.
What did you realize?
It was a security company, right? So we had security guards on the field. And part of what I was doing was I was, again, doing the payroll. I was in charge of that. Computing the hours, their names, the hours, and all of those. So I was able to see how much they were making at the end of every 2 weeks, because they were being paid every 2 weeks. At the end of every 2 weeks, and all of those good stuff. And then I realized that the people who are on the field, putting on this uniform, they are making way, way, way more than me putting on the shield and my hair done. Oh. I was like, no, this ain't right.
So what did you do?
So I called my boss and I said, I want to switch.
You want to switch?
Yeah, oh yeah, I want to go to the field, because I mean, think about it. I came to make money.
What's the point of being in the office?
What the point of being in the office, right? Your blacks and your heels on, your head off, and you are like, no, you're making nothing. So I was like, I needed to go to the field, and he was like, are you sure? But I said, I want to go to the field.
That's where the money is. Wow.
So they got somebody, they hired somebody, the person took over, became the secretary while I went on the field. Oh yeah. And I started making the money, like I had the opportunity to work, different jobs, multiple jobs.
And exposure too.
And exposure, yeah, exactly, And talking about exposure, that's a good one because the exposure actually led me to the next testimony I'm going to share.
Okay.
So while I was doing the security job I was able to work multiple jobs with different companies. So while I was doing the security job with another company, again, it was a family shelter. Right. So I had to go up and down to do rounds and all that. So when I came, after one of the rounds, and I was speaking to my shift supervisor, we just got talking, and while we were talking, then we talked about career, education, all those good stuff, and then she learned that I have a bachelor's, and I had a bachelor's in social work, and she was like, really? You have a BSW and you are here doing security? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, some people will not do that.
Right. I said, well, I don't know, opportunity, right? And she was like, you know what? She said, I'm actually a director at another homeless shelter.
Oh.
She said, as I speak with you right now, we actually have an opening for a case manager. She said, Anita, I love to hire you.
You know what the Bible said about whatsoever your hand find it to do, that you should do with all your might.
Absolutely.
And again, I like the fact that the relationship, how you're able to relate, because if you were just keeping to yourself, that's one quality that is very good.
Yeah, you gotta show yourself friendly.
That's right.
I was saying, show yourself friendly.
Really, I'm telling you.
So she was like, when you get home, make sure you email me. She gave me her email. Email me your resume. Girl, when I tell you before she was done talking,
she had your resume.
I grabbed my phone because that is what the phones are meant for, right? Yeah, positivity. So I went to my email, or I just emailed her my resume and I said, you have it. She was like, wow, so fast. I said, yes. So she was like, okay. She went through my resume and said, come to the office on Monday, for an interview. I went to the office. Now I have no background, no experience.
Except for your education.
Except for my education. I have not been a case manager before. Apart from, again, like you said, what I just learned in school and during my internship. So we got to the interview. Herself and her colleagues said, don't worry about that. We like you. You hired.
Wow.
Yeah. Come
like that.
Yeah. She said, next week, Monday, come start. Showed me my office. Me? At the office.
I'm glad you didn't stay in that other office.
Right. It's like that other office, right?
You had an office uniform.
I had an office with myself with a good pay package. I was like, I was super excited, but for some reason, I still didn't let the security go. So I still head on to the security. I was going to work like 9 to 5, doing case management, then at night.
Oh, yeah.
I go,
that would have been very tedious.
Very tedious. But again, it led to some other kind of miracle.
Okay.
So a week interval, while I was doing my rounds in that same...
A week interval
in that same homeless shelter, where I got the open door for my case management position. So I met another shift supervisor again. We got talking, right? Look at that, very social. So we got talking, and again, I love that she was also a supervisor at another homeless shelter that had an opening. They were looking for a shift supervisor. And then again, just the same narrative. Yeah. She was like, I like you, and I'm going to talk to my boss. We're going to hire you. Are you ready to work? I said, yeah. Hey, whatever, I am. And she said, it's just the weekend. I said, perfect.
Yeah.
Because I had a full-time 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know, Monday through Friday.
So
exactly, Friday, Saturday, I go for the other one. So again, that was how I got hired. So I was working, you know, as a case manager in one shelter Monday through Friday. And Friday, Saturday, I was going to another shelter to work as a shift supervisor. So yeah, so that was my journey. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting story. So you worked Monday to Saturday and you have Sunday off?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. But that reminds me, you know, again, let me take us back to when I was working as a security guard.
Okay.
Yeah, so I remember when I was working as a security guard, my schedule was Sunday through Sunday. You remember, at this I was consumed.
Yeah,
I wanted to make the dollar.
You had to make...
Exactly. You know, and again, I remember, you know, taking my uniform to work. Yeah, because at times, you know, I had to, if the sermon...
Oh, you mean to church?
To church. Yeah, thank you. Taking my uniform to church. At times, if the service goes way too long, you know, I sometimes even walk away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll have to change to my uniform and just go. And it became like that. It was just, I was going back and forth. And then I began to feel empty.
You know, I think that's it. I mean, I don't know if I'll call it a trend,
Yeah.
but that's something I've noticed for those of us that came from different countries in the United States. Looks like we forget about our love for Jesus.
Yeah.
The same way we used to be very active back home.
Right.
But how were you not able to balance your faith and then church and work and still be able to pay your bills, because the bills need to be paid for real?
Exactly.
How do you balance that?
Right. You know, again, like I keep saying, you know, it's a journey of grace, and it's been grace, you know, or that's the only way I can describe it. So again, like I said, you know, I began to feel empty, and I knew that something left me.
Yeah,
you know, this is not right. You know, this is not what I told God. This is not what we talked about, you know, before coming here. And, you know, I remember going back and I was just talking to God about the whole thing. You know, I'm sorry, you know, stuff like that, just trying to reconcile that with my father. And that was how I stopped working on Sundays, you know. And now, when, like I said, I stayed in New York, you know, for some time. All of this happened in New York, and then I had to relocate to the state of Georgia. So again, I got to Georgia. I got a fantastic job. You know, I was a supervisor in a very big, prominent hotel. Again, I don't want to put names out there because it's really, really popular. So I was working there as a supervisor, and I remember, you know, during the interview, I had made it clear that I cannot work on Sundays. You know, my schedule has to fall between Monday through Saturday. So the manager or the director at the time who had interviewed me understood. You know, I said, because I go to church. I'm a pastor. You know, I go to church. So he was like, okay, that he understands that they could accommodate me. So again, everything was going on fine. You know, I was working Monday through Saturday, doing my job, being on duty. Everything was going on well. Do you remember that portion of the Bible that says, and there arose a Pharaoh?
That is not what you said. Did you get it wrong, Pharaoh? And that's what you said.
So somehow or suddenly there was a new director, you know, and she wasn't okay with me not coming to work on Sundays. So I spoke to her. I said, this was an agreement. You know, I mean, I said this before I was interviewed, and I've been working here for a couple of months, and there have not been issues. I've not been no write-up, nothing. You understand? Nothing. Everything has been fine. She said, well, that going forward, they no longer can accommodate me being absent on Sunday. I have to be here Sunday. As a matter of fact, my schedule has to be Sunday through Sunday. I have a choice. I either take the schedule, I'm free to take a walk.
What did you do?
What did I do? I went back home, I remember talking to, I had people then who were in the house living with me. They were like, just apply. Yeah. Just do it on Sunday for a couple of months.
Just bow.
And I said, just bow. And I said, no, that wasn't me, So I got back to work the next day after I had prayed through that night. I felt peace in my spirit on what to do. I got back to work, and I remember being called to this conference room with directors sitting down there. They all said what they had to say. And I stood up and I appreciated them for the time, that they had allowed me to serve, to have work for them. I said, at this point, this is where I take a bow. My faith cannot be a choice. I mean, there is no choice. There is absolutely no choice between dollars and my faith.
That's a huge one.
There is no choice, So I walked away. That's big. With 2 kids, walked away, no job for 3 months. I had no job.
How many bees make they?
It's been a journey of grace. God has been faithful. But I'm going to tell you something, right? Within those 3 months, there were the times where I had the battle of the mind. Did you take the right decision or not?
Yeah, those will definitely come.
I remember, thank you, Jesus. It's so beautiful now. God is a rewarder. And when I say God is a rewarder, like my pastor would say, when God wants to pay you back, he pays you back big time. I remember within those 3 months, I remember coming back home, my water was cut off. My kids were in school. I had no water to prepare lunch. When I tell you that the devil fights, but there is something about battles. Battles sometimes makes you see a dimension of God that you could never have known. Oh, Jesus.
That is strong.
That you could never, there is a dimension of God that we would never know. So we should be thankful for battles, thankful for things like this. So my water was cut off. Man, what do I do? My kids are going to be back. What are they going to eat? What are they going to drink? Girl, I didn't know what to do. I go to the streets and the first place I went to was a church. And I remember walking up to whoever the person was in the office. I said, I'm not looking for you or the church to give me money. I'm looking for you guys to give me anything to do. I can cut your grass. I can mop your floors. I can do anything just to get paid so I could be able to pay my water bill, so my kids could have something to drink and eat when they come back. And I remember the man telling me, there is nothing we can do. I was crying, I was begging. I said, I'm not asking for anything free. Just let me do anything. So at that point, I remember him saying, he pointed another church, a Presbyterian right church to me. He said, go to that church and see if they could do anything. So I said, okay. So I went to the church. So I met some group of women and I told them what happened. And I said again, like what I told the man, I'm not looking for anybody to give me anything for free. Whatever I can do, even though it's to come to your homes, to do your chores, just anything that I can do to earn just a couple of dollars to be able to pay my water bill, to feed my kids. So they were like, no, nothing. They gave me words of encouragement and then they asked us to pray. So we held hands and then we began to pray. And somehow the Lord opened my mouth and I began to speak things. And I began to speak things. So at the end of the whole thing, He's an awesome God. He's an awesome God. We might go through things, but He is an awesome God. So I remember at the end of the day, thank you, Jesus, a particular woman, that we all prayed together, she said that while we were praying and while I was speaking, she said the Lord reminded her that sometime in December last year, sometime in December last year, that somebody had given her $150. Now, they had no clue how much I was looking for. I didn't tell them. I just said, I want to earn money to be able to pay my water bill. They had no clue how much it was. She said that somebody gave her $150 December last year. This was like April, the following year. And she said that for some reason, that whenever she wants to spend the money, that she had restrictions. Whenever she wants to spend, she said God told her to put the money in her Bible. So while she was talking, she opened her Bible. We were seeing the cash. And she said that while I was speaking, I feel like crying right now. She said, while I was speaking, that God said to her, this is the reason.
Jesus.
This is the reason I had restrained you from spending this money from December last year. She said, give it to her. And that was the exact amount
that
I needed to pay. Both the water bill and the restoration fee. Of course, when they disconnect you, you have to pay a reconnection fee.
Right.
So that $150, when she gave it to me, when I got to the city of Winder, and I said, how much do I owe? When they put everything together, it was exactly $150. And that was exactly what I had. Gave it to them. And my water was restored. I went back home. It was Thanksgiving. Because my kids can have water to drink. Go cook and everything. And then I began, of course, and these 3 months now, it's not like I was sleeping. I was job hunting.
Looking for job.
Nothing was coming. When the devil wants to act like,
he got you right now. Why did you take that step?
You understand? Right. Just to make you regret. You want to go to church just to make God a liar in your life and, things like that. So there was nothing that was coming. So I remember one day, I went to drop my kids off in school. My neighbor, I didn't have a car at that time. I couldn't even fit. How much we're going to get a car? So my neighbor was always helping me. She was so gracious, drive my kids to school and back. So while we were driving back, we saw this job sign thing, it's Waffle House. Mm-hmm. They were looking for managers and stuff. So I took a screenshot. So I went home, I sent in my resume, did everything. That same day, I was called for an interview.
Oh, that's same.
Right. So we got there, the manager interviewed me and all of that. So I had to then go speak with his own boss, before my employment could be confirmed and stuff like that. So while I was speaking with her, and then I asked her a question, I said, thank you for the job offer, but let me understand the rudiments of this job. Do I have to work
on Sunday? I don't feel Sunday.
Do I have to work on Sundays? I said, because I'm a pastor.
Yeah.
And I have to be in church. It's my place of assignment on Sunday. Then she said, as a store manager, per the policy of Waffle House, you have to. work on Sunday. As a matter of fact, the only weekend, right, the day you can take off could be only on Saturdays, not Sunday. You have to work on Sundays, you have to work Christmas, you have to work New Year. So I asked her, I said, if I serve tables, if I decide not to take this position, and I decide to be a server, do I have to work on Sunday? She said, no. She said, if you're a server, you don't have to work on Sunday. You can decide to take your Sunday off, but you have to work every Saturday. And I said, I'd rather do that. She was like, are you sure about this? She was exactly. She said, I'm looking at your resume. You are overqualified. Who said so, madam? Who said so? I said, give me that. I want to be able to do what I have to do on Sunday. I have to be in church. You know, I have to do what So she was like, do you know how much servers are being paid? I said, no. She said, first of all, servers, they live on tips. She said, they are being paid $2.50. $2.50 an hour. So are you going to choose $2.50 an hour over a job that will pay you $50,000 annually? I said, yes. I'm going to do that. As long as I have my Sundays to serve my God, I'm going to do that. Now, it's not about religion. I just want to make that clear.
That's right.
You know, I wasn't walking per religion. I wasn't blind. You know, I was walking per covenant.
That's right.
You understand? I was walking. It's bigger than religion. You know, it's bigger. You know, so I just wanted to add that. You know, out there, so people don't think, oh, you were just being religious. It's more than being religious.
No.
So I took the job of $2.50 and I began to serve tables. I served tables for almost a year. Even while serving tables, God blessed me. God blessed me to the point that even my store manager became envious because they could see the tips that I make.
Wow.
I was making
Probably made the same amount the manager
more than I was making. God blessed me. You know, you said something about whatever your hand findeth to do it diligently. You know, I was making money serving tables. And you know the scripture that says the blessings of the Lord make it rich.
It is His blessings that makes rich.
And it is Him that giveth us power to get wealth.
That's right.
So I was making money and my store manager became envious.
Oh, that would have been your position, right?
That exactly. He became envious when he was seeing my tips. You know, he was picking up unnecessary quarrel, arguments. You know, I was just like, I know what is going on. I'm used to this kind of battle, and I know how to win battles.
So wait, you're making more money now. You refused the managerial position. You're making more money serving tables. This is the blessing of God for real.
Indeed.
So it does pay to honor God. God is a rewarder for
Absolutely
real. According to the word of God, He's a rewarder. Wow,
it is
amazing.
I mean, I could say it's the journey. You know, the whole blessing. That was just a process of the goodness of God. Because again, big things just began to happen.
Wow.
And again, like I said, serving tables, I was making money. I was really, really making money. But it got to a time, where my kids needed attention. They needed me more at this time. So then I had to switch jobs. So I had to stop working, which my director didn't find funny. They didn't want to let me go because the customers loved me. I was doing my job, but I had to really go because my children needed me more. So exactly. So that was how I got a job, working at home. But before I even got the work at home job, let me quickly tell you this that happened in 2018. 2018? Yes, 2018. So, like I said, I was making a whole lot of money. And via tips, remember the official payment
$2.50.
Was $2.50. That was what was actually on paper.
Yeah.
But every other thing I was making was via tips, and that wasn't recorded. So I felt like, yeah, it was time for me to buy my home. Time for me to buy my home because I had this money and all of that. So I called the realtor and we began talking. And while we began talking, he actually was able to confirm my bank statement that I had enough money. But the problem was the underwriters want to actually see the income.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they don't, I mean, tips is not income. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. They wanted to actually see the income. And what my pay stub was showing was not what they could accept, you know, to approve me for the loan at that time. So again, I saw this beautiful home. It had a swimming pool, beautiful home in the countryside. And I wanted the home so bad, you know, and they said they couldn't really do it, you know. So I remember speaking to a friend, and she said to me, well, there is a way that it is done.
Okay.
So I said, what do you mean? She said, well, there are people that we can actually speak to, and they can actually forge.
Oh,
yes. In the US, they could actually forge financial documents like pay stubs that could reflect,
my goodness,
yes, how much, you know, that could approve you, get you approved for the home. It looks like a beautiful offer, right? I mean, I wanted to buy my home.
You already have the money.
I had the money and all of that. So when she finished speaking, you know, again, when I tell you, I thank God for the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
I really, really thank God for the Spirit of God. And having a relationship with God, it matters a lot.
That's right.
Having your personal relationship with Him. So I remember just thinking to myself, and I told myself, I said,
that's the wrong one.
You understand? If I go ahead and do this forgery, okay, I get the home, okay, then I go to church and testify and say God gave me the home when I know how I got the home. And I said, think about it. You talked about foundation. I said, think about it. What if that home is hit by hurricane, wind, anything? Who do I cry to? The God that never gave me a home? And I said something. I said, if God cannot give me a home on a platform of honesty, I will remain a tenant. I said that to myself, and I forgot the whole thing. And when I was praying, you know, and I heard it clear like day, and God said it wasn't time. This was in 2018. He said it wasn't time. He said, you are going to buy a home in 2020. It's not time. And that was how I gave up the idea. Towards the end of 2019, so now I had left Waffle House. Okay. And now I had started, I got a work at home job. Okay. Started working from home. You know, then towards the end of 2019, God said, go begin search for the home. You are moving into your home next year. And that was how I started the process. You know, I started searching for the home. I found a realtor in 2020, even in the midst of COVID.
Yeah, that was COVID. Yeah.
An amazing God, right? Even in the midst of COVID, I closed my home. You know, month of May, we closed, and to God be the glory. I am a homeowner. Yeah, it's been God all the way. You know,
this journey was not that smooth.
It wasn't that smooth. And again, like I said,
God was there, obviously.
Yeah, He was there. Like I said, you know, it was all the process into God just unveiling. You know, just leading me into what He actually has for me.
You know, He said if you walk through water, He will be there.
He will be there, and that's so true. Because while I was living in my rental apartment, my kids were attending a Christian private school. Okay. You know, so when we moved, you know, it became a problem because where I bought my home was a distance, like an hour drive, you know. So there was, here again, another challenge comes, you know. for this kids' education, and that was very, very, very peculiar, about Christian education, right? So then I began to look for, a school for them, and I couldn't find any school. And that was how I found a particular homeschool. I called them, they were using the same curriculum, which my kids were already used to, the AC curriculum. I love it so much. Yeah. So I called the school, they got my kids enrolled, they took the diagnostic test, they got them enrolled, and they started. So again, like I said, the process of God's blessings, and all of those good stuff. So I remember there was a particular time, that I think in 2022, towards the end of 2022, I had to call because I normally pay a year ahead, their tuition, So I called the school. Before I made the payment. So I told them that, my son was done with all of his PACES. So PACES, again, for those who don't know, they are like textbooks. For every course, for every subject you have, there are 12 PACES to each subject. So my son was taking about 6 subjects at a particular time, and he was done with 5. So he was just left with math. The math was a lot. It was a lot of math that he brought. So he was done with that, but he continued doing only the math and just doing one particular subject. Exactly.
Math for that matter.
Right, very, very boring. So I remember calling the school at that time to let them know, hey, my daughter is done with her PACES. My son is almost done. He still has the math going. But what if I go ahead and make the payment again for a year and get the new books? So whatever math you are going to send, don't send the math because he already has the math. Just send the other 5. You get to send the other 5 so that way he could do something as opposed to just doing math. So they told me they couldn't do it like that. That per their policy. The child has to complete the whole PACES, send them in, and they're going to send new PACES. So I was like, I understand that, but it looks like you don't understand what I'm saying. The math pace that he has is already above the grade level. Do you understand? It doesn't even equate the other PACES that he's done with.
Oh, I see.
You understand? So just send the other PACES that will correspond now with his math. So they refused. So I said, okay, there was no need to keep arguing. And when I dropped the phone, the Holy Spirit again. And this thought came to me. Why don't I even look into starting up my own school? I was like, wow. So I was like, because there are going to be some parents like me, exactly, and they want. Why don't I get into
that need?
So I grabbed with that need, where they say you turn your pain to purpose. So I grabbed my laptop and I went online. Started researching, and that was how I researched all the information that I needed. How the state guideline, the federal guideline. All guidelines just to stay compliant.
Wow.
That was how I researched the whole thing. And do you know the interesting part of the whole thing? That the money that I needed for startup was not even as expensive
as what you were paying them.
As what I was paying for their tuition.
Wow.
And that was how, again, we prayed, I remember calling you about the name of the school.
We talked about it.
Yeah. Right. So God actually gave me that name in Revelation. It was as clear as day. I woke up, I was like, wow. And I said, God, if this is you, then the name is going to be available. We went ahead, we went through registration, with state registration, going through accreditation process and all of those things. And I remember when I was speaking to ACE, when I was trying to get registered with them and start all the school setup and all of that, I remember them telling me about referring me to somebody who builds websites. And I called him, he gave me a charge for a website. I think it was over $3,000. So I was like,
Who does that?
I have a lot of vision. So are you saying that if God is giving me 10 businesses
30,000.
and I'm going to pay 30,000 just to build websites? Do you know what 30,000 can do for our NGO?
Yeah.
Do you know how many widows we can feed? Do you know how many homes we can build for widows? Do you know how many widows we can empower? Do you know how many pregnant women we can actually provide medicals for? Do you know how many lives you can actually change with 30,000 US dollars? I'm not giving that away. And that was how I registered the school. I went online, looking for leads on how to build a website.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was how my journey of building websites, actually started. So that was how, got into the school, building websites.
Build website.
Yeah, we actually build websites, and we actually teach our kids, our students as well, web design.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and all of that. And God has been awesome. He has been so gracious. Again, like I said, why we started our homeschool, I wanted something that was going to be unique, something that was going to stand out. Because I remember, when I started my school, God's Love Christian Academy, I was working at that time as well. I was working a regular job, and I just had to leave my kids, to their own faith. I had no time for them and all of that. So, but again, I then thought about the fact that there are so many parents who are going to be like me, who would want an extra attention or help, with their kids' education. So that was when, God gave me the idea to begin a Zoom. So yes, hire tutors, have the Zoom room open. Let them know, anybody that has a question, they can come into Zoom, they can get help from qualified educators, again, who also are Christians as well. Because when we hire people, those are the things that we actually look out for. Because we want to know, right, in Christian school, we are very, very careful the kind of spirit that we give into our students.
This is so amazing.
Yeah, so
when I told you she was a lady with many hats, so you do have a school.
Yeah.
You build a website.
Yeah.
You have NGO.
Yeah.
A bunch of things.
Absolutely.
Well, tell us, how do we contact you?
Oh, absolutely. So we, like I said, we have a bunch of ministry. We have a lot of things that we do. We have a school. We have a website. We do graphics. We register businesses as well.
Oh, nice.
We register churches as well. We have some people even in Nigeria that will register their churches here in the United States that wants to have a church here. Yeah, we do all of those. We have a mobile food delivery as well. We cook and we deliver to people. Yeah, we do that. And of course, we have a ministry, as well. So all of these are all under one umbrella, God's Love Christian Ministries.
Okay.
So if you go to godslovechristianministries.com, you are going to see all our programs, all the ministries that we have. We have Global Women Ministry, where we, take the gospel from state to state, nation to nation, just empowering women, raising them up, and a lot of things that God is doing through us. So absolutely, God's Love Christian Ministries is the place to go to learn more about us and contact us if you want to. Yeah.
Well, viewers, this was such a great video, so many lessons. We saw the hand of God. We saw God rewarding those who honor Him. Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for joining this episode. This is where we will draw the curtain. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and we're going to be putting the information in the description of how you can contact Dr. Anita. Again, thank you so much for accepting to do this.
It's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's an honor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.